Before we jump into the meat here, I think it's probably worthwhile for me providing a bit of a dealer perspective on this.
Yep.
And I'm going to hit on a couple of things that Ryan opened with here, and I apologize. I'll probably repeat a little bit of what you mentioned here, David, but I think it's important, right? So, Ryan, you mentioned when we got into this that we know leads are on the decline, right? Every store I go into, why are my lead counts down? What's going on with my lead counts? Well, in light of that, isn't it important for us to understand how we're handling those leads and what's happening with those leads? So where are the missed opportunities? When are they occurring? What model, what geography, etc. Now, these are great questions, but historically, based on tools that I've had at my disposal, it's always been hard to answer those questions.
In my time in the car business, we've relied on CRM data to really kind of tell us a story. The problem, and this is no knock on CRM because they're great, valuable tools, they can be somewhat, one-dimensional. In some cases, like when we work with our OEMs, they may give us that two-dimensional view because they may say, look, you sold, X number of cars in your marketplace, but and your competing like-make dealers are selling this, so you're not as effective or you're more effective in that marketplace. But what we're going to talk about today is really that three-dimensional view where you can see exactly what's going on in your marketplace, not only against the competitors that sell the same kind of cars as you, but also the ones that sell different makes. So really getting an idea of what that loss looks like. We wanted to figure out a way to eliminate the aggravation of historic data and really the aggravation of kind of that one-dimensional view. So when you look at this, like everybody can go into their CRM and pull out what their lead volumes look like over a period, and in this case, like 7-8 months. Anybody can do that in CRM. Where you start seeing a different story, and where I think dealers like Ben and others see is that they start to see trends on that right-hand side, not just on their success because of that, that same like one-eye view, but you start to see, are you doing better in the marketplace of not losing those opportunities that you have on your left over on your right? This usually is the dealership's more interesting, like they have more questions around this, but we can break it up. Like you can look in your CRM around, how effective or ineffective your lead providers are. But when you start layering in the lost sales around that, and in this case, you can see the light gray bar is of your let's pick on TrueCar. Of the leads that came in on TrueCar, you had 31 of them purchase the same kind of cars that you sell, but from other dealers in that marketplace. And then the dark gray bar is they may have not purchased, they didn't purchase your make, they ended up purchasing other makes. Mm. And so that, when you start looking at that across the board, this doesn't really mean, hey, go beat up on your lead providers. This means maybe you need to change your process, or like the area of responsibility, or who's handling the leads and that kind of stuff. It starts that conversation, I think.
So maybe you guys could speak to the geographic aspect of this. You're able to really see, I guess, defection rates as a specific to your zip codes?
Everyone can see their effectiveness, again, at their dealership. If you pull up, your zip or some kind of geo within your CRM. But this really, because I'll tell you, one of the things I get absolutely just tired of when I talk to dealers, they go, well, I own my backyard. Like I do everything. And in my, in the neighborhood around, like we own the market, blah, 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 blah. But they don't have any real factual data that supports that. And in this case, what we find in a lot of cases is those backyards, they sell well in there, but they're also losing a ton, not only in their own make, but in other competitive models.
So when I'm looking at any one of the stores that I'm involved with, the top salesman looks awesome, but is he really awesome? And that's where TCA analysis really tells me, is that person awesome? And we're living in this digital world, right, where all this data is at our fingertips. But it's harder than anyone, I think, is willing to admit, to actually extract a story from that data. And frankly, this is my lead in and pitch. And it's like this TCA analysis is able to put that data at our fingertips. It's actionable data. It's data that you can work with.
Ben, that's a great point. I say that a lot in our conversations. We have so much data, so much information, and it's great to be able to understand it. But if you can't act on it, then I would say it's useless. Thanks for your interest in this webinar, Lost Sales, Why They Happen, and How to Reduce Them, featuring David Metter from Urban Science and Ben Robertaccio from Morries Automotive Group. To access the complete version of this webinar, text Lost Sales to 555-888, or look for the link below on this webpage. Good. It looks like we have. Getting. let me get those guys. That's Lindsay's camera again. All right. So try that again. David, Ben, welcome to today's webinar. It's great to have you here.